Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes Mr. Cloud from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Certainly we need a federal workforce, but our job as the Oversight Committee and certainly of any official working in the administration should be to make sure that we're returning a good ROI to the American taxpayer. I do have some concerns with what seems to be underlying principles in some of these arguments, in that there's an absurdity in that it seems some have the view that the American people exist to support the federal workforce, as opposed to any of us serving in the public sector exist to serve the American people. And so I can tell you firsthand from the casework that we do, that we've certainly seen a slowdown in responsiveness from us working cases for veterans, for Social Security, passports, and the like. Indeed, during COVID, there's a warehouse where federal employees were paid to digitize records that are physically in a warehouse, and understandably, during COVID, they were not there. But when we went to re-up the payment of that, Republicans tried to say, well, you're going to actually have to show up in the warehouse, and Democrats on this committee pushed back against our provision in a physical warehouse to ban teleworking. It was a job that could not be done at home, and we saw that. More notably, as we enter into a second Trump administration, I'm concerned about a federal bureaucracy that has outgrown its authority, that often slow walks policies that they don't like, and has, in my view, become an unconstitutional fourth branch of government. Indeed, during the Trump administration, and I'll submit a Bloomberg article, Washington bureaucrats are quietly working to undermine Trump's agenda, in which that article found that career staff had found ways to obstruct, slow down, simply ignore their new leader, the president. A Washington Post article, Resistance from Within, the federal workforce is rushed against the Trump agenda. They see the bureaucrats using time to their advantage, and so they would slow walk different things. I am very concerned about this, especially as we've seen the recent contracting that has come from Mr. O'Malley on his way out, as he's posturing for a slot in the DNC, specifically with AFG. Ms. Gressler, you mentioned how taxpayer-funded lobbying happens on the clock. Is that true in your opening statement?
Yes, federal employees can take official time to not do their jobs, but to instead work for their unions, which can include lobbying Congress. Right,
and I'm reading from the union's page right now that says AFG runs one of the largest, best political programs in AFG history. This is their article talking about the work they did during the last presidential election. And when I look at their endorsements from the last few elections, I see Harris, Biden, Clinton, Obama, Kerry, Gore. I'm noting a trend. I don't know if anyone else is, but so we have taxpayer-funded political organizing going on the clock, and this is very concerning to me, and I think should be for anyone looking for a good ROI from their taxpayer. I want to turn, though, because there's a lot of discussion about private and public when it comes to teleworking, and there's a little bit of a difference in that, although I think there's lessons to be learned that could cross that. But in the private sector, you have immediate accountability, and so there's earning statements that aren't met, there's productivity goals that aren't met, and those who are managing have the ability to immediately fire, make course corrections, and the like, to get rid of bad actors, poor performers, and the like. There was an OPM study that said 8% of civil service managers who had poor performing employees, only 8% of them tried to correct them. Why is that? Because 78% of those who tried were effective at bringing discipline or firing bad actors. So that's less than 2%, barely over 1% of bad actors we were able to get fired. The ability for us to deal with bad actors, which includes those abusing telework, is very difficult. Could you speak to the process of what it takes to get rid of bad actors in our federal government?
Yes, it's already incredibly difficult and time-consuming and costly, and that's why we see that federal managers try it a couple times and then they just give up on it. Even things like not giving an employee a performance-based pay increase requires setting up a performance improvement plan. It takes 1.5 years to actually go through the process of trying to fire an employee and get rid of them. In fact, telework is supposed to be something that is left to management's discretion. And I think that everybody here would agree that we're not going for 100% remote and that you can have productive telework. But the problem is when you put in place policies that get rid of the ability of management to effectively manage those telework policies, and that's precisely what this new contract agreement does. It literally crosses out Each deputy commissioner will determine the number of scheduled telework days, if any, eligible positions, and percentage of employees permitted to work. And now it just says whatever's in place, and as of now, until 2029. And so you're stripping the ability of management to do what they need to do to
Not
make
true.
those telework policies. We can submit this into the record.
Go
It's
for it.
literally crossed out.
Please, we just read a big passage of it.
Yeah, thank you very much. My time's expired, but I'd like to submit for the record a report from Senator Joni Ernst, out of office bureaucrats on the beach and in bubble baths, but not in office buildings.